Look, we all love a good underdog story, right? The plucky hero defying the odds, the triumphant comeback against all expectations. Unfortunately, the story of the Philippine economy isn't exactly a feel-good movie montage set to Eye of the Tiger. While its Southeast Asian neighbors are practically sprinting toward economic prosperity, the Philippines seems to be stuck in a financial purgatory, plagued by poverty and stagnation. The Philippines, with its vibrant culture and hardworking people, deserves better. So today, we're going deep, dissecting the top 10 political reasons why the Philippines can't seem to bridge this economic gap. Let's dive in. Let's be honest, folks, talking about corruption is about as fun as a root canal. But just like ignoring that nagging toothache, pretending corruption isn't a major problem in the Philippines is a recipe for disaster. See, the Philippines has this unfortunate habit of ranking remarkably high in corruption indices. And who's fueling this culture of shady dealings? Well, let's just say the Philippines has a bit of a family business problem. We're talking about political dynasties, folks, families who treat elected office like their own personal inheritance. The problem is, when you've got the same families calling the shots for decades, policies tend to benefit, well, those families, not the average Filipino struggling to put food on the table. Meanwhile, you look at a place like Singapore, where transparency and accountability are practically national religions, and you see the stark difference. Imagine this. You're a business owner looking to invest in a new country. You've got two options. One where the legal system is about as reliable as a weather forecast in a hurricane, and another where contracts are actually enforced. Which one are you choosing? Yeah, I thought so. Here's the thing. A weak judicial system is about as appealing to investors as a plate of lukewarm mayonnaise. And sadly, that's the message the Philippines is sending to the world with its painfully slow case resolutions and, shall we say, selective justice. Meanwhile, you've got countries like Malaysia and Thailand who may not be perfect, but at least they offer a semblance of legal predictability. Now let's talk about OFWs, overseas Filipino workers. These are the doctors, nurses, engineers, and caregivers who leave their families and their home country to find better opportunities abroad. They're the lifeblood of the Philippine economy, sending back billions of dollars in remittances every year. But here's the thing. Relying on OFWs is like trying to quench your thirst with a single raindrop during a drought. Sure, it helps in the short term, but it doesn't address the underlying problem, the lack of decent-paying jobs at home. Instead of focusing on industrialization, innovation, and creating an environment where Filipinos can thrive without having to leave their loved ones behind, the Philippines has become dangerously dependent on these remittances. Meanwhile, you've got Vietnam, a country that was practically in ruins a few decades ago, now attracting manufacturing giants and becoming a global player. They're investing in their people, in their infrastructure, in their future. And the Philippines, well, they're sending their best and brightest off to build someone else's dream. You know that feeling when you're on a roller coaster and your stomach is doing somersaults and you just want to get off? That's what the Philippine economy must feel like, thanks to its political instability and addiction to short-term policies. It's like they're stuck in a perpetual game of musical chairs, with each new administration scrambling for a seat and trying to make their mark before the music stops. The problem is, you can't build a sustainable, thriving economy on fleeting whims and promises whispered during election season. Now, compare that to Indonesia, a country that's managed to craft a long-term economic roadmap that stretches for decades. They've realized that true progress requires patience, consistency, and a willingness to look beyond the next election cycle. They're playing the long game, while the Philippines is stuck hitting the reset button every few years. Bureaucracy. The necessary evil of any functioning society. But in the Philippines, it's less of a necessary evil and more of a soul-crushing monster that feasts on paperwork, red tape, and the shattered dreams of aspiring entrepreneurs. Starting a business in the Philippines shouldn't feel like you're trying to navigate a labyrinth designed by Kafka after a 3-day bender. The Philippines ranks dismally low in ease of doing business, and it's not hard to see why. Meanwhile, countries like Thailand and Vietnam have realized that attracting investment means making life easier for businesses, not harder. They've streamlined their processes, embraced technology, and basically said, "Hey, entrepreneurs, come set up shop here." Let's talk infrastructure, shall we? You know, those little things like roads, bridges, airports, and ports that are kind of essential for a functioning economy. It's like the circulatory system of a nation. If it's clogged, sluggish, or non-existent, good luck getting anything done efficiently. And unfortunately for the Philippines, its infrastructure is about as reliable as a three-wheeled car trying to win the Indy 500. While countries like Malaysia and Indonesia are busy upgrading their transportation networks, investing in renewable energy, and generally treating infrastructure like the backbone of a modern economy, the Philippines is lagging behind. It's like they're trying to win a marathon with one shoe untied and a pack of angry squirrels chasing them. The Filipino people deserve a transportation system that doesn't make them feel like they're on a never-ending episode of Lost. Here's a fun game. Try to go a day without using a single product that was manufactured in another country. We live in a globalized world, and trade is a beautiful thing. But there's a fine line between healthy interdependence and economic vulnerability, and the Philippines, my friends, is teetering dangerously close to that line. While countries like Vietnam have transformed themselves into manufacturing powerhouses, attracting foreign investment and churning out everything from smartphones to sneakers, the Philippines is still heavily reliant on imports for even the most basic necessities. This dependence on imports not only weakens local industries, but it also makes the Philippine economy incredibly susceptible to external shocks. So, while other countries were busy diversifying their economies and building up their manufacturing sectors, the Philippines was left holding the bag. Now let's talk about a topic that's about as comfortable to discuss as a root canal with a rusty spoon: wealth inequality. It's an uncomfortable truth that plagues many nations, but in the Philippines, it's particularly stark. While some jet set around the globe, indulging in extravagant lifestyles, millions of Filipinos struggle to make ends meet, trapped in a cycle of poverty that seems nearly impossible to escape. And the worst part? This chasm between the haves and the have-nots is only getting wider. It's a moral stain on the nation's conscience, and one that demands far more attention and action than it's currently receiving. Remember when your parents used to tell you to eat your vegetables because they were good for you? Well, someone needs to remind the Philippine government about the importance of agriculture. Agriculture, once the backbone of the Philippine economy, is now a shadow of its former self, plagued by neglect, outdated farming practices, and a lack of government support. Meanwhile, countries like Thailand are investing heavily in modern agricultural technology, providing farmers with the tools and resources they need to thrive, and ensuring food security for their citizens. They've realized that a nation that cannot feed itself is a nation at risk. But in the Philippines, farmers are left to fend for themselves, grappling with land ownership issues, unfair pricing policies, and a distinct lack of government assistance. Imagine you're a business looking to invest your hard-earned money in a new venture. You've got two options: a stable, predictable environment with clear regulations, and a government that welcomes foreign investment, or a country known for its political volatility, restrictive ownership laws, and a tendency to change the rules of the game every time a new administration takes over. Which one are you choosing? Yeah, I thought so. Here's the thing: foreign investment is like the popular kid in high school. Everyone wants them at their table. But attracting and retaining foreign investment requires more than just charm and good looks. And sadly, that's where the Philippines stumbles. Look, the Philippines is a nation brimming with potential. From its stunning natural beauty to its resilient and hardworking people, it has all the ingredients for success. But unless these deeply entrenched political issues are addressed, the Philippines will continue to lag behind its neighbors, its economic growth stunted, and its people denied the opportunities they deserve. So, what can be done? Well, that's where you come in. Share this video, start a conversation, and demand better from your leaders. The future of the Philippines depends on it.